All set?
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the October 4th, 2023 meeting of the Wyndham Planning Board. This meeting will now come to order. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically wants to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all exhibits that are offered. If the board goes into executive session, the reason for doing so shall be stated. Please notify the chair if you have any difficulty seeing or hearing. This meeting is being recorded for YouTube. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinance or ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project, it will prepare a written opinion which will be forwarded within 7 days. The board works from a prepared agenda and will be considering this meeting's items in the following order. We'll first have a roll call. A regular business will be a notice of decision for Barker's Pond Rentals, a notice of decision for Oosterman, a review of the sidewalk notes at I think it's 38 Cottage, the Maxim residence, a presentation from Harper Residential Subdivision on Old Kennebunk Road, a possible site plan review for Rustic Dreams, an alteration to item 6. Instead of executive session there, we will discuss the notice of decision revision for Murray Meeting, the location at Cousins School, and updates from the CEO. We'll review the minutes from the September 20th, 23 meeting, and any old business and mail. But first, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And long may she wave.
All right, first on the agenda is the Barker Pond Rentals.
Roll call.
My apologies. Roll call. Can we start with Kelly?
Kelly Demers, 10 Partridge Way.
Don Hernan, 33 Murphy's Way.
Joe Wagner, 26 Day Road.
Cecile Dupuy, 53 Chapel Shores Road.
Bill Single, 8 Single Lane.
Kevin Bear, 64 Bugging Pond Road.
Thank you, Don. All right, Barker's Pond Rentals.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
do you need to have an alternate?
my apologies.
It
Yes,
is
Yep.
Cecile's turn
it
to be
is.
an alternate. Bill was last time.
So,
Sorry,
entertain-
Cecile.
That's good. Entertain motion to,
Move that Cecile be voted a full voting member.
second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Cecile, you're in. Thank you. All right, now Barker's Pond Rentals. If everyone has had the opportunity to look over the notice of decision there for Mr. LaChance. Any suggestions, alterations?
No.
Otherwise,
Did you take out a sentence you said?
that was, go to the
No.
second page.
Yeah.
This permit must be recorded, that there was a passage there with respect to
Oh, they,
authorizing, putting the burden upon the applicant to obtain additional permits as needed.
right.
Which-
They don't need any.
They don't need.
Yeah, good.
It's just
I agree.
extraneous.
I agree with that. Okay.
Everything else as is. The dates were plugged into item 12 and 13, I see, so.
Yeah, just for the record, this is to, not codify, but to make official what the existing uses, I would say not what's, can't use grandfather anymore, so you gotta say, previously existing uses. So this will give a legal basis for that. And then if the applicant wants to, do anything else or add events or do something else on that property, then the applicant's gonna have to come back to the planning board under the zoning ordinance and ask for additional uses. So this, the whole purpose of this one, this notice of decision is to box that in and make it official and give the applicant something to hang their hat on.
Exactly.
So just thought I'd say that.
Mhm.
No.
Since we voted on this previously, I see no need for a motion on this.
Do we vote on everything? Do we add anything?
Ms. Dupuy?
I don't think anything was added. It was just the standard.
Yeah, I don't think we voted. I think we just,
We voted for Cecile to write it up.
Oh, we
that's
voted.
what it is.
Okay.
So-
Maybe it was a vote somewhere.
It's a motion to,
Make a motion, we approve the notice of decision.
second,
Second?
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And see, I'll leave this right here.
Okay.
Next. That is just. Next on the agenda is the notice of decision for Mr. Wayne Wisterman. That was there's a tear down of two existing buildings, rebuilding one domicile there, and it was agreed upon distance from the shoreline of what's most practical, and I believe that was 41 feet from the shoreline. There we go.
I think we can still vote, but we should take that under conditions of approval on the back page. There was a question there that should be removed. Is it shown?
yes, I
The
see.
last sentence of paragraph 3.
Mhm.
Please ask Brenda if this provision is desired.
Which it should have been.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, so, but I mean, we still, I would suggest,
Yeah, delete that.
yeah,
I thought that was taken out.
approve with deletion and then include.
I can go print a quick one without that,
Please.
and it can be signed.
Yep.
Great.
Or it can be accepted as amended.
Yes.
What? You want to just accept it as amended and you could, or you, whatever you want.
I'll print it and then Cecile can sign it right now.
Okay,
Okay.
just take a minute. Yeah, this should take care of this.
Shall we conduct a vote approving this?
Make a motion that we approve the notice of decision as amended
For Easterman?
for Eastman, specifically on page 2, paragraph 3, remove, please ask Brenda if this provision is desired.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I just wanted to state for the record, this approval was done the meeting before I came. But I agree with the.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin. Any further discussion? Call for vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Just move that here, and Julie will come up with the revised.
Direction.
Next on the agenda is reviewing the sidewalk notes from September 21st of this year for the Maxon residence on 38 Cottage.
Well, that one seems to me is, we're sort of stuck waiting for the Corps of Engineers to come up with some kind of a ruling as to what to do with the area that was filled in by the applicant. I mean, I think it's a good, it's favorable that the applicant came forward, but the planning board can't really say anything
Right.
about this. This has got to go to the Corps of Engineers.
I think it's more the DEP that's going to take notice of that because
Oh.
of the restricted drainage on both sides of the lot. That's causing, in my humble opinion, a backup of the water retention, which is causing a spillover into the neighbor's property.
Well, Mr. Maxon is here. What was the last word you got from DEP?
So it was more the Corps of Engineers that were.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Keith. I don't know if your voice will carry to the microphone, so please, thank you.
So it was the Corps of Engineers that I think were the ones that had to be more involved. So there was a permit that was dropped with them, and there probably hasn't been any correspondence really with them coming out to do a site visit, which is probably the last, I think was about a year ago, that they came back to the table and said that's what they would still have to do. So I think, we're just more pressure on them to try and get them to come to the site walk and, let us know what has to be done.
Oh, Brenda, I sent a little note to you about this Did you pass that along to Mr. Maxon?
No, I haven't. I'm so sorry. I
okay.
will do that.
Yeah.
I will do that first thing in the morning. And I will just touch base with the DEP to make sure that we don't leave anything undone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we'll have something
Like-
filed.
From my observation of the site walk, and I think I pointed out to several of the other board members at the time, as you are facing the pond on the back of the land, there is a drainage pipe currently in existence, which is about a 4-inch, except for it's small and it actually goes uphill toward the end before it gets buried underground. Then on the right side, where that swale is, I was walking that and noticed it appears that there's another drainage on that side, but it's plugged up with overgrowth, and I couldn't find a discharge out to the pond.
Is that on?
Where the shed is, where you come through, where you access it through the other property, just before it opens up, the wetland comes down in there and grows over. And it looks like there may be a drainage pipe,
There is.
but it's all plugged up.
Hmm.
So
That does filter into the lake, but
Yeah.
I know what you're referring to.
those are my big concerns. The one on the right side, the neighbor mentioned that he's having issues with water on his property. So that would need to be remedied in my opinion.
So I think maybe the approach here is to table the situation until such time that the Army Corps of Engineers finally gets out there, conducts an inspection, and gives you some feedback. You've been very forthcoming and expressed your willingness to make changes as necessary to correct the situation. So we appreciate that. So maybe a motion to table.
So moved.
Second,
Second?
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll table that for now. And hope you don't mind the suggestion of maybe contacting congressional offices. I think Brenda's got a lead on one in particular. You know, I worked in the federal government way back when, and whenever we got any kind of inquiry from anyone on Capitol Hill, became a priority. I think it still kind of works that way. Thanks.
I'll forward that
Yeah,
to you,
exactly. We'll
Shane.
follow up.
Yep.
And-
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I just make a quick comment, Julie? Julie, on that site inspection report?
Yep.
On the official copy, could you just mark applicant as present? I forgot to check that one little place.
Applicant is present.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh, well, a couple of bricks shifted on that one.
I had a few of those recently.
Yeah.
All right. Next, Harper Residential Subdivision, Old Kennebunk Road.
Here we go. I think I recognize you from someplace.
Well, I was before you about a year ago.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, I remember talking to you. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been quite a while, actually.
I think the upgrade you guys made to this room. Table.
Yeah, it's getting, it's time to quit. It's getting too fancy. Gotta move north.
Almost to the 20th century.
Wow, let's not go too far.
I said almost.
Yeah, almost, yeah,
We're in the
okay.
21st century.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I keep forgetting. I think about the 20th century fondly.
All right, Joe Martin with Sightlines here on behalf of the applicant. So I was before you about a year ago, October last year. We had a site walk, and then we had a meeting after to discuss the site walk, and there were some outstanding concerns regarding the project. So just an overview. The project's located off the end of Old Kennebunk Road. It's going to be 9 lots that are served off 2 new subdivision roads. So just rundown of the kind of the big concerns that I recall from last meeting, and we can discuss those. If there's anything additional, then we can discuss that as well. Also here with me today is Bruce Martinson, who is a surveyor with Sightlines, who any questions regarding the survey or property lines, something like that, he can help address those as well. So the first one was, since we met, the road has, the town has formally discontinued that section of Old Kennebunk Road with a public easement to be maintained along that. That was done in May of 2023. The other outstanding concern was about the town line between Alfred and Lyman. We submitted a plan in the packet that shows the town line. It's based off two monuments, one on Old Kennebunk Road and one, I think, on Blueberry Road. And it's actually shown on here. And our project that we're working on is right in this area.
Does your project go into Alfred at all?
No. Both the properties are entirely within the town of Lyman.
So both towns are agreeable to this demarcation? Or at least,
Yeah, I mean, it was on this boundary plan that was done. I don't know Alfred's determination on there, or if they've made a determination on their line or not.
Chairman, I just wanted to know that Alfred Planning Board and Code Enforcement was invited to tonight's meeting, and they know that it was being broadcast on YouTube, just an FYI.
And I did send the same package to the code enforcement office for
wonderful. I did
For Alfred as
recall
well.
the sidewalk representatives from both the select board
Yeah.
and the planning board over in Alfred were present.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
So that's the town line, and if you have any questions on that, we can discuss that. There was some concerns at the site walk, I remember, about the kind of ongoing maintenance of that section of Old Kennebunk Road. I guess as I understand it, today Alfred maintains it, and there's some sort of informal agreement with the town to do that. So we're willing to work with them to figure that out. I know they were concerned about where to push snow and things like that. We're more than willing to work with them on that. And then the last kind of point was one of the comments made from the planner you had review the project was about the angle of the intersection for here. The road comes off Old Kennebunk Road. Before we had it shown at more of like a pretty much coming off the end of that pavement and just extending that. What we've done now is kind of shifted it so it kind of comes off at a 60-degree angle from that. The ordinance requires a 75 to 90-degree angle. I would assume that is a good idea for typical roads where this is the end of a paved portion of the road that's now discontinued. That's not going to be extended in the future. To kind of help us get into the property and where we need to be, that 60-degree angle works a lot better. So, of course, you can't approve any waivers now, but it would just be nice to know if you would be amenable to a waiver in the future on that.
Agreeable to consider.
Yep. So that's got my kind of spiel. So any questions or comments? What do we have?
So, okay, we got we got a pretty big package. I'm not sure if, one I have said preliminary subdivision application. I'm not sure if there was another one or not. There was a lot of stuff in there.
No, so kind of what I want to do tonight was come forward, talk about the outstanding issues.
Okay.
And then if everyone's, for the most part, okay with it, then we'll come forward with a full package for preliminary and then follow up with a final.
Right. And just as a sort of a reminder, I think in the past, we have been putting these packages on the town website. So that means, so people can look at them.
Yep.
So that would mean that you'd have to submit an electronic copy, obviously. So otherwise it wouldn't go on the website.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we did that last time or not. I think we did, but I can't remember. I don't, anyway, I'm just mentioning that too.
Okay.
So you can be aware of that, that's all.
Yeah, because first, when you had the access road, which would have been Solus Road, just a gentle sweep, and I noticed this one here, you've come closer to the existing driveway, up, in, and then down and around.
Yep.
Bypassing the wetland at the bottom of that little ravine.
And kind of the major reason for that is because with the road discontinuing, we don't have access to the other side of the road. Because even though there's a public easement, the boundaries of the adjacent properties now come to the center line of that road. So, you know, I know the applicant is trying to work with a butter to try to get access to that, but that hasn't been obtained as of yet.
Okay. So if you had permission, would you change it a little bit or not?
Yeah, we might try to just, you know, where that paved road ends and it
Yeah.
kind of turns into gravel,
Mhm.
we would upgrade that gravel road and then use that to come off for our subdivision road.
Right.
That's ideal, but we need to get permission from the abutter to be able to upgrade that side of the road.
But the subdivision road itself is gonna have to be paved.
Yes. I believe due to
I
the
think that's,
classification of the road, I think it would be,
I
Major
think-
subdivision, so
I
it's-
think that's in our pretty sure that's in our subdivision ordinance.
I'll check that. I thought the classification of road that it was a minor
Pretty sure it's,
road.
in fact, let me upgrade that a little bit. I'm like 95% sure that the subdivision road has to meet town standards.
Yep.
Because I live in a subdivision and it does meet that. So, but anyway.
Yep, we
obviously,
can
take a
double
look
check
at
that.
and See what you
Move forward
come
with
up
yeah,
with.
that'll all get,
That was required of the Brock Road.
Yeah, it was. We did
Yes.
it On Brock Road. It's in the standard, it's in the but it's not an ordinance, it's a subdivision.
Standards.
Yeah, I got a copy here. Well, maybe I didn't bring it. Oh, yes, I did. It's called Land Development and Subdivision Standards. blah, blah,
Yep.
blah.
classification major, which is, you're over 3, so it's a major subdivision. Major road, the term major road includes arterial roads which serve primarily as a major, yeah, and it goes on the road specifications.
Yeah.
So it does have to be X amount of feet wide, potentially curbing, it's got to have underground utilities.
Yep, I
so
know
on
about the
and so
underground.
forth.
Yep.
Anyway,
All right.
Any other questions?
No,
no,
The
I'm
big
happy
thing
to see
was
this,
the-
go forward.
One thing that I recall was, given the proximity of the project, fire and rescue services
Yeah.
from Alfred are most proximate.
Yep.
So it seems like maybe some sort of a memorandum of understanding between the two towns is going to be necessary for the provision of that. Because that's literally right down the road in Alfred as opposed to,
Oh, yeah, the over here.
Goodwin's Mills would have to.
Yeah.
I seem to recall too, you guys have a requirement for sprinkler systems in residential homes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought I recalled that.
Yeah, one of the other concerns was schools. You know, you got a 9-unit subdivision here. You're hoping to have families, you know, the 2.5 kids and those
Do that.
golden retriever. How's that going to be affecting transportation to Lyman school systems, or are they going to be taken into the Alfred school systems?
More proximate.
So I don't know. I mean, that's somewhat of a town discussion, intertown discussion.
Yeah. But it was one of the things that was brought up.
Yep.
Could we send a note to our select board, CC Alfred Select Board, giving them a heads up that this is now back in process and
Welcome their
invite
input.
them to dialogue in terms of provision of services for the purpose of getting to a memorandum of understanding between the two towns.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is. I can't imagine this is the only road in the town that kind of has only access from a neighboring town. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see what they do elsewhere.
Yeah. It's just a little bit unusual.
Yep.
I mean,
So where we are right now, that you'll be submitting a more formal
Yep.
application. At that point in time, we can determine whether or not the application is complete.
Mhm.
And at that point in time, set a date for a public hearing. Is that?
Well,
Okay, we see
the question would be whether we want, I'm not saying we should, but I'm just saying there would be a question whether we should do another site walk or not. Whether things have changed enough or not, I don't know. I'm not saying we have to, I'm just bringing that up. We have to decide whether or not we want to do a site walk. We did a site walk. It was a wonderful site walk. I enjoyed it all.
It was actually very well attended.
And
Yes.
It was a
going
good
through
day
the,
too.
the brush and everything, that was a lot of fun. But, you know, I mean, if, just depends whether people think it's enough or it's, but the only other issue is, it's been a year. So, you know,
And also,
the butters, we have a new member.
Yeah.
you did, okay. But Kevin has-
Yeah, give them.
I would think we would want to wait now until we get the formal application.
Oh, yeah.
Forward
Oh.
with anything.
Absolutely. No, I'm just saying,
Just throwing it out there.
thinking about scheduling and stuff. That just drags it out because of the timing, you know, how it is. Everything takes
Not
time.
much you can do about that.
And this project too will require a DEP permit because the amount of impervious area we're adding.
But you're still going forward.
Yep.
Oh, good for you.
Man's valuable.
I think we're good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for,
Thank you. Formal application.
thanks for keeping after this.
Appreciate
Shows a
the
lot of
update.
tenacity.
Thank you.
Whatever happened to our easel?
I think that's in storage too.
Maybe it's in the storage room, I don't know.
Maybe we should ask for it now.
I think so.
When they clean the house, they will.
Easel and the whiteboard so that,
Hey, I found your chairs.
I was almost at the point of bringing one of my old ones in. But then I'd find it in someone's.
Next on the agenda is the Rustic Dreams possible site plan review. Brenda, you want to give us some information on that, or?
I distributed packets at the last meeting, and I kind of did an overview of what my thoughts are. I also included a packet that the property owner submitted. I think that was the second in the packet of third, I'm not sure. So I just really would like direction from the board as to whether you feel a site plan review is in order, or if you feel like the conditional use permit that was approved in 1995 still stands.
Could we approach this similar to what we just did with the Barker's Pond, issue a notice of decision which pretty much confirms the operation of the business as is? Because I remember trying to follow the route of the Wesley's auction.
It was an auction barn.
And try to follow that to the connection to Rustic Dreams, which is up and operating and has been for some time, is a little bit difficult to, not too many dots there to connect, I think. One concern I had was that I believe the septic system is approved for 120, and they're advertising that they can hold 170 people. Is there anything that we have on record as to what the fire department says in terms of their max?
I asked the fire chief and he said that it is rated for 170 people,
Okay, so
from his point of view.
So we can put out a fire, but we can't go to the bathroom.
It
Well,
just-
you could if there was a fire.
Oh, dear.
I don't know how big you get.
We're on the TV there.
I'd like the board to know that I did notify the property owners that I was going to have this on the agenda this evening.
Yeah.
I didn't get a response.
Okay.
I just felt that it was originally for an auction barn and a BYOB dance hall.
Right.
And
Yep.
now they have a liquor license and a catering license. I didn't know if the use was.
Yeah, it's
enough.
changing. I'm going back in my memory, but when they were here before,
Mhm.
it was just, she's an event planner, if I remember correctly. Any food was going to be catered and brought on site, and it was going to be mobile bars brought in. Because I remember we specifically asked about liquor licenses, and they were emphatic, no, they didn't want to bother getting a liquor license. So essentially, it was going to be a place to gather, and if it required food, they were going to have caterers come in. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, she was in partnership or had a business relationship with a caterer in Portland already. So that now doing this in-house, I think we've moved from an auction barn, BYOB gathering facility to an event center, which I think they should spell out exactly what they want to do. You know, what changes they want to make, because it's the conditional use, we did away with that. Now, are we looking at something that's allowed in this zone, or is this a contract zone?
I believe it's allowed. Because that's.
Well, that's the thing, is they got to tell us what they're going to do and show us what definition it meets. We shouldn't be going through and saying, oh, it might fit this. You tell us it's an event center, it's a recreational facility, it's a car dealership.
I would suggest in comparable to what we just did with respect to Barker's Pond, ask for a narrative of the activities. So that could be the basis for a revised notice of decision.
Yeah.
We'd like to see some documentation that the septic system that they have in place is sufficient for the number of folks that they say they can accommodate.
Do we know if that use has been continuous from the time? Because if 2 years goes by and that use is not in action, it's.
That building was vacant for several years.
I don't believe it was.
Okay, so then this would be a new use.
I could,
And the last, I remember, the last thing that it was a flea, like a flea
Right.
market.
Mhm.
That's the last one.
I could
Yeah.
go back and
So-
review sales and listings.
so to
with
have
my
the gap, if
professional
there's no gap,
credentials.
Then that would be, we could
That's a
consider
good
that.
point. I didn't think of that. I did include a copy of minutes that I believe that this was discussed back along, and I included a copy. I think Don made the statement at the time that.
Yeah, that was,
Remember?
you put a copy of an email. It was from the,
That's what it was.
So Brenda, was the place sold to these people?
Yes.
So when was that?
I'd have to find out.
2021.
I was gonna say, not very long, yeah.
you mean it changed hands?
Yeah.
Ah, well, there you go. So, it's not a contract, so that's okay, but I'm saying, it sounds that possibly the new ownership wants to expand their operations. Nothing wrong with that, but they're doing more things that I believe we were originally permitted for, I believe.
Just a thought. If it was sold in 21, I would go back and see what I could find for information when it was an auction barn and when that ended, because there's gotta be something. I remember that ending specifically. It seems to me that was 4 or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
So, I don't know if that'll give you what you need.
We'll try to figure that out.
But
Now, is this the same property that we did the medical marijuana dispensary
Yes,
and they,
next door.
next door, and they'd split the property and was building a house for the mother up on the hill?
Mother's house existed.
They never did the medical
It's a
marijuana.
shared driveway.
That they can follow through with that.
Well,
I'm
those
just-
ones, that might give you what you need. That might answer a lot of questions.
Well,
I think it was in the packet of information that Brenda provided. Some of the data goes back some time. Use of the building, and this is, I think, back in the Wesley days, for hall rentals, type of hall rentals, weddings, anniversaries, graduation. Okay, that's, I think, Rustic Dreams. And I think they originally planned BYOB, but to have more control over the distribution of alcoholic beverages. That's why they acquired the liquor license, so they have more influence on that and control. And I think they went from, I think they have the commercial kitchen facilities there, but they found it easier just to have the folks who rent the place set up a catering service to use it.
I think even in foods prepared off-site, it still has to be held in certain conditions. You still have to have the temperature of the water and the refrigeration
Mhm.
and all of that.
And it's not that we have anything against the business, it's gotta be legal. That's simple.
So would we be comfortable for asking the owners to write the narrative as to what their operations are right now, and maybe base a notice of decision on that narrative?
Can I just ask that that kind of correspondence comes from the board? Because I've kind of taken my stance, so I think
Right.
I need to stay outside of
Okay.
that.
Official,
well, if they're expanding, so it seems to me the question really is, are they expanding uses above what we approved in the past? If they are, they got to come
In
back.
the distant past,
If they're not, then
I think what happened.
they're
Do we have the conditional use?
Well, there's-
I think I put it in there.
Yeah, there's stuff in here from 94.
And there was even some conditions at that time about maintaining a buffer.
Yeah.
I don't know that those were, I mean, I don't know.
Do we know what the number of people it was authorized for?
Originally, why do I want to say 95, but I'm not sure.
don't know.
I have to look.
There's a big difference from 95 to 170.
And if we look at this email from 2019, Patty is specifically saying an auction barn is not a flea market, like, basically coming to us and saying, this is exactly what we're going to do, which it should be in our commentary, I think it was 2019, where they were not going to be preparing on site. They were not going to be having a liquor license. It was going to be an occasional special events venue. Now, good for them that they've been able to upgrade a parking lot and everything else. But it's got to be within what they have requested permission to do. That's my concern.
Would it be worthwhile reading into the record now what we have in the way of discussion in the minutes from July 21st to 21? I think Julie got you found this for us.
I've got a copy of that in here.
I found some meeting minutes that I think I sent you.
Yep.
I think you got some.
Some were there.
Right,
and
right
some
here.
weren't.
Yes,
It's
you-
in
you
the packet.
got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's in the package. Yeah, the package got a lot of good information in it.
Good records make good packets.
Exactly.
I've noticed they've done a lot of work out there in the last couple of years. Was that all presented to the planning board, like the parking lot layout?
And I'm not, I'm not sure about that. I
That's a
do know
commercial
that they put permits for the different things they did for the building.
Mhm.
And I was out there, the town was thinking about using that as a mowing place. And it's a nice facility, very well run.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. I don't see any problems with it. I would just like it in the record, that's all.
Sure.
Mhm.
It's a good idea.
When they came before the planning board, my recollection is the only permit that we gave was for the marijuana dispensary
Right.
and grow.
Yeah, we didn't even do a site walk on the building itself. We did for the marijuana
Right.
facility.
Which is
Right.
going to be a new construction,
And I believe that was abandoned.
yeah.
And I think where it was left is with the uncertainty as to whether or not what was permitted with Wesley's was grandfathered over to the new owners of Rustic Dreams. And was that inclusive enough for their plans? And I think that kind of felt somewhere in limbo that. Yeah. Yeah, would it be worthwhile reading through these minutes into the record and stating what we did? This is from July 21st, 2021. Keith and Shante Savigny, Rustic Dreams. Mr. Savigny said that they never changed the use when they purchased from Wesley. They've been working with Patty McKenna and Marcel DeRozier. Currently, their events are BYOB, but they are trying to steer away from that because it cannot be controlled. Mrs. Savigny is trying to get a catering license. They hold events such as weddings, showers, proms. They upgraded the kitchen, which has been approved. The CEO had the septic system inspected. The planning board had done a site walk for the barn previously. They rent the barn once a week for pre-scheduled events with food and liquor. Mr. Demers asked if they met the conditions of zoning ordinance section 836. Mr. Savigny said the property is grandfathered as he hasn't changed the use. Lima has a special amusement ordinance which defines what is allowed. The original contract had an approved use as an auction house, including weddings, events, and parties. They have done 90% weddings. Mr. Tetu reviewed the town's file, which includes an email from Ms. McKenna stating that the state fire marshal's office is requesting a dancing permit. The previous owner, Wesley, was there a long time. However, he snuck in a flea market, which wasn't approved. The applicants tore down the flea market garage. They have a commercial kitchen for catering and a liquor license from the York County Liquor Inspector. For now, BYOB is off the table because it cannot be controlled. They required a $1 million liability insurance policy for each event. Mr. Herndon stated that the board is trying to follow the ordinance's procedures. However, if they are grandfathered, they may not need a special amusement license. Mr. Tato read a letter from the town lawyer addressing the fact that the previous owner had a contract dated 1995 with BYOB as a conditional use permit. However, there was no definitive answer. The question is the permit still good? Usually cups, conditional use permits run with the property. The difference is that it will no longer be BYOB. If the use is stopped after 2 years, as Cecile alluded to, the cup expires. Mr. Hernan said the cleanest way to handle this is to follow the site review process. The applicant's base of operations is on premises. Since the CEO had returned to work that day, Mr. Wagner suggests that the applicants get input from her to determine whether a new permit is required. He also said that the ordinance states that the special amusement permit allows for liquor distribution not to exceed 5 hours, and there's a maximum number of 275 for attendees. Mr. Hernan moved that the planning board ask the applicant to consult with the CEO on the status of the existing permit and ask the CEO to inform the planning board of the decision. Seconded by Mr. Wagner, all in favor. Sorry for the lengthy thing, but that's kind of like the history of what we had going into this. That's the headline.
Well, I guess the question is, have they changed the uses or not? And that seems to be the crux of it. If they, and I mean, they have done some things, obviously. They put a commercial kitchen in apparently, right, which was not there before.
And obtained licenses for liquor.
Liquor license. So is the use different than it was before? Is it a special amusement, whatever it is, that's in? If that's the case, then we ought to do seems like we ought to do a site walk and just go through the process and not. But then, I mean, that does require the applicant then to do an application and pay a fee. So it's not a free deal for the applicant either, right? Cost them some money. It'll cost us time, which is, of course, our time is free, almost free, not quite. No, I'm a town employee, get paid minimum wage. Anyway, just a thought. But I don't know. I think we want to do something that nails it down so that there's not let's say there's a problem there, some kind of a fire and that kind of a thing. Then we go back and find out that it's.
So the two big issues are the number of people that can be there. And now we're at 275, which is a long ways from 95. And then the question is, was there a lapse in use of more than 2 years? So those are probably the two biggest questions to answer right off the bat.
Yeah.
Then we can decide to do what from there.
Do we also have a site plan on record of what this place looks like since they've paved? Do we have enough parking spaces out there? Is there enough handicap parking?
Don't know.
To
We never looked
accommodate
at.
170 people?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, we never
Very
went
good
up and it was a dirt driveway
Right.
when we approved
That's been a big change.
adjacent plan.
We don't know if it meets our standards.
One thing I do notice, they have a pond there now, I guess.
That's right.
Which is good from a fire protection point of view, I would think, depending on how big the pond is, but it looks pretty good size from the
I was
road.
gonna say, depending on how big the fire is.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Good point.
Is it paved? Is there, of the
Part-
parking
yeah.
lot, it's all paved?
Yeah.
It's, the parking lot isn't paved. The
It isn't.
driveway.
The driveway.
is.
Yeah, driveway in is paved.
Because I think that's a requirement in the commercial zone too, to have paved parking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're thinking of Dollar General. Or some of the other ones. I remember we had an issue with parking.
Yeah.
So
Well,
some changes, there's some changes there.
Mm.
so it seems that we will be asking, to get a narrative, a diagram.
Wow. I mean, I think it's up to the applicant to justify that there haven't been any changes from the original conditional use permit. I mean, that would be my opinion. Isn't that the only thing that's been issued? We didn't issue anything
We
else, did we?
didn't,
No,
the only
did not.
thing we gave was a permit. for
So I mean, we're
marijuana
going back to
dispensary.
the original conditional use permit.
Right.
So if things have changed from there, then it seems like you got to go through the process. I mean,
We
I
should
don't,
have a site plan, don't you think? Is there a site plan in there, in the history, even from way back?
I haven't seen anything.
yeah,
I mean, it might be in there, it's about that thick. And,
Yeah.
it took me a while to extract.
well, you've got a lot of stuff out of here.
There may be more in there. I just.
So it's not, because it's not the same site, I'm sure, if they tore the barn down, that where they had the auction, so the principal building that goes with the use is gone. This is a new building, and
Well, actually,
a slightly different use and it could be a gap.
Mhm.
Gap in
Well, actually, I should have read this whole thing. It looks like you recommended to do a site plan review. Yeah, which
I agree with.
is the cleanest, I mean, takes work, but it's the cleanest way to do it. And once you do it, it seems like it would solve the issue 100% one way or the other. You wouldn't be having to go back and try to justify something that was based on 1995.
Mhm.
Because even in my experience, that's a few years. That's 28 years for guys.
A blink of an eye to you.
It is, it is.
Answer those two questions.
Yeah.
One is, was there a lapse in use? And two is going from 95 to 275 people on the property, a change to drive a review.
And I think the 275 isn't their capacity. I think it was mentioned in the liquor license.
That's right.
That liquor license served to 275. They say that their capacity is 170. The fire department agrees with that. It's just the septic is written for 120. So I don't know if a septic designer comes in, he may say it's fine for 170, or he may say it needs to be expanded. I think that's something. But as far as the labs, if you want to table this, and we'll do some research in the next couple of weeks, I think that's probably an important issue.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want them to get the impression we're trying to make it difficult for them,
By no means.
because I don't think that's what we want.
No.
No.
I always tell every applicant, it isn't that the planning board doesn't want them to do it. It's just that we need
Follow the
we
rules.
need what's in the records to match what's out there.
Right.
That's my goal.
And we need to follow the ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah, let me ask
That's
Brenda
the
a
law.
quick question here. But Brenda, your memo, besides going to the planning board, that's very complete, but it also went to the applicant. Did the applicant, send you a response or anything?
The response is the packet that I think is it number 2 or
Oh.
number 3? I made a list of what's there,
Yeah, oh, okay.
and I think section number 3 was from that.
Oh,
I'm
so,
not
oh,
sure.
yeah, documents, okay, responsible. The highlighting was done by property owner. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So that's what they brought in when I raised the question.
They brought that in.
They brought that in, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
So table this until such time we get some additional information on the septic system and whether or not there has been a lapse in the original cup to the point where a site plan review would be necessitated. That'd be satisfactory.
I was gonna say, in 2019, it was still being used as an indoor flea market.
In 2009.
2019.
Okay, but I think is that a motion I heard?
It is.
I'll second that motion.
So what does that mean? So there doesn't allow us?
It wasn't an auction house and it wasn't a BYOB dance hall.
So further discussion. We have a motion on the floor to, again, additional information in terms of the septic system and investigation on the continuation of the conditional use permit to see whether or not a site plan review is necessary. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for taking the effort of
Yes.
going.
Do you want me to write up a letter asking them to do a narrative and send it out to you? Just,
I think that would be yes.
It'd be
So
nice
is-
to have it documented.
I can write something up. You guys can look it over, give your little nits on, and we can do it up and maybe sign it at the next meeting, or somebody, Cecile can come sign it. And then it can go out like certified mail to them. They can.
Good idea.
Well, I think that
Or
should be held in
email it.
abeyance until such time that we get the information as to whether or not a site plan review is necessary, but it could be the basis for an eventual
Okay,
notice of decision.
but at least we'll have the process.
That's right. Yeah.
I was just going to say, as of 2016, it was still being used as a flea market. So I don't think it was ever an auction house or BYOB.
Not since I've been around here, 1980.
I remember
Six.
it being an auction house.
Yeah. And
I was
there in the
auction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Is
Because
that-
they used to have them at Carvel's barn,
Yep.
and then they moved it, we moved them.
Yeah, I think-
Way back,
I think it was used that way originally.
back in the eighties.
After the
You could do an auction house in my basement. There's more junk in it.
You might need a site plan review on that.
Probably will.
Next on the agenda, again, modified, is the discussion of the proposed provision to the notice of decision for Mary Meeting. This was Cousin School. And my understanding is that this was reviewed by council. The suggested 4 changes that we had for the notice of and council would has some concerns. So it might be best to invite council to the subsequent planning board meeting. Because we still have the difficulty of them producing anything consumable is not permissible in that zone. Where I think we may be going is to prepare yourself down a contract zone.
Oh,
But not limited to that.
But not limited. You see, because that provision in the language in the ordinance would be conducive to allowing them to do as they wish, but they're still within the our understanding of what they had in mind in the first place.
But it does say in our ordinance also that if the use is not in the ordinance, it's not permitted. It
Exactly.
says that in the ordinance too.
another
so
place.
It's, you
Another
know,
place. Well, anyway, we're sort of,
Inclusive versus exclusive.
but, so are we gonna, we going to executive session?
No,
You don't need to.
Oh, we don't need to. Okay, okay. I was-
Yeah, I think the best is to entertain a motion to invite council to hear directly from council concerns about the proposed changes to the notice of decision and get some guidance and advice as to where we should go with this.
Yeah, because even though I wasn't at the last meeting, I did faithfully watch it on YouTube. Took some thinking. And one of the questions that was brought up was, when the project was proposed to us, what was our interpretation of what they were proposing? Me personally, I was thinking artisans, craftsmen, painters, sculptors, pottery makers, carvers. In that, I was not thinking along the lines of someone making artisanal cookies and saying this is art or makers.
But if they're gonna make pottery, are they gonna take it home and keep it? Or are they gonna sell it?
That was one of the things that was a concern of mine, was having a constant flow of traffic. They stated, and if I'm remembering correctly, that it would be minimal additional traffic from an artist selling, if it was pottery, selling a few pieces, or it would be transporting to their studio for sale. Because I was thinking if they were going to have cars going in and out, vehicles, I think I even joked if they had a metal sculptor having an 18-wheeler with so many tons of steel pulling in there.
Well, I think they're, from what I remember, is that their plan was they were gonna have events.
Yes.
where
Yes.
they would ha- where they
We
would-
put a limit on the event,
Right.
24.
So-
24 events.
But I honestly think what's happened with them is that their original view wasn't working the way they thought it would.
Mhm.
And they're trying to make adjustments to it to make it work.
understandable, but work within the parameters of the ordinance.
No, I agree. But I said, that's where I think it's going,
I agree.
you know, and Joe's probably right.
Mark that down.
First.
I couldn't,
Okay, so-
need a little levity.
So,
So you're recommending that we, the planning board ask the town attorney to come and discuss this with us so we can understand what the basis is for, so, yeah, I would suggest that's a good idea because if we go forth and do something and then the applicant or a butter sues, it's going to come, we're going to go through this whole process again. And somehow this is like, what's that saying? Deja vu all over again. So, I mean, let's get the word from the town attorney first and make sure we're on good grounds because the town attorney is the one that presumably would be having to defend this. So if we do something that he doesn't agree with, then that's not very intelligent.
And we notify the property owners. So
Oh, of course.
very good. Yeah,
It's, the towns,
notify council, their council as well.
the residents are probably gonna wanna know what's going on.
Yeah.
They have a huge interest in the old building.
So do we need a motion to send the invitation to the town council for the next meeting?
yes.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Brendan. And now, some updates.
I have two questions.
Okay,
And one is in the zoning ordinance on page 18. And it would be A at the top of the page. I don't know how to deal with this. So,
Love this ordinance.
in the commercial residential district,
Mhm.
it requires 4 to 5 acres.
Yep.
But it says if they're using it as a residential lot, it goes back to the residential requirements, which is 3 acres.
Yes.
So if someone wants to split, say, an 8-acre lot, they can make one for commercial use only and one for residential? Or how do I address that?
That's a good question.
Well-
If they're splitting a lot, can they split it 3 and 5?
I would
And
I would
then-
say
They would both
You
be
have to-
legal lots, right?
Right, but the three would
According
have
to
to be.
this,
Well, the background on this, as I remember, this was all at one time commercial. This area was commercial, and there was an issue about, God, what was it? It might have been lot size or something, but there was people who had residents in that area felt that they felt they were being disadvantaged because it was turned into a commercial zone. So it went through the process of changing the ordinance and got voted on to change it from commercial to commercial residential. And basically, the concept was commercial properties would be handled by the commercial requirements, residential properties would be handled by the residential requirements for residential districts. So, I mean, that was, and the other thing that's sort of nutty about this is we've got those darn back lots in there, but which we need to
that was for.
Hopefully get rid of. But that was when we had remember the road, we were gonna have a road there and all that business.
Yep,
We took that out.
thank God.
Yeah, but we still had this lot one and
But
lot
that,
two.
yeah, that B is really.
It's sort of, anyway, that's a different one. That's it. But I think,
So if someone were to split an 8-acre lot, they could do it 5 and 3, but would it have to say somewhere in deed restriction that it can only ever be used as a residence?
We'd have to be a resident.
Because if we
Oh.
allow them to split it 3, because they say it's gonna be residential, and then 10 years from now, they decide to build a Hannaford on it, how would one know that's not okay?
There would be a restriction
Mhm.
on the deed,
Yep,
I would think.
I think so.
but what is your process now or what is the town's process for splitting a lot? Let's just say it's in a different district, like general purpose, where there's,
We don't know a lot is split until the deed comes from York County.
oh, really?
And it goes to the assessor, and she looks it over, and if there's a question, we talk about it. It's after the fact, really. And then what would happen is there's still nothing we can do about it, but if it's If it's not compliant with zoning, property owner comes and pull a permit. I can't write a permit,
Right.
but they've already bought the lot.
Oh, boy.
So they didn't do their due diligence
They
prior.
They didn't do their due
Right.
diligence, but it seems like a shame.
I know,
does seem-
that does happen.
Yeah.
And don't they have to have like frontage too?
They do.
right? They do have it?
It still has to correspond with the residential district, like everything else. I just didn't know how to handle the 3 and the 8. So if somebody does, and they come in on the 3-acre lot and they want to build a house, I can say, yes, that split is perfectly okay.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to hear it from you. I thought that's what it said, but I wanted to hear it. Then the other question I had is in shoreline,
Oh, gosh.
and
Road show. Road show.
on page 14, I believe I'm reading this right, but there again, I just,
Oh, God, we need bigger writing.
I know. So I'm looking at A1A. So a lot can be created, a 1-acre lot can be created in the shoreline? And that's permittable? Okay.
That's been the fact.
Yeah, 40,000.
I want to make sure, I've never seen that before.
What?
There's a restriction on how much waterfront.
Right,
Yeah, 200 feet.
And there has to be
200 feet.
100 feet going straight back from the water, parallel.
and they don't need road frontage.
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to be sure because that just surprised me, that's okay. I just wanted-
Now, would somebody come to you for any, they wouldn't, they could split a, they'd be coming to you asking to put a residence on that?
Most like, no, it seems like in shoreland, if someone's thinking of buying a lot, generally their surveyor will send me a copy of it and say, does this meet zoning?
Oh,
And,
but not always, huh?
but, no,
Yeah, that could be a
but I
disaster.
haven't come across a problem. I just happened to come across that for something else. It was like, wow, I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Really?
Yeah.
It's always been 40,200 and for 20 years.
It's an acre, yeah.
Not in shoreline.
Shoreline's it's been 40,200. It also depends, I don't know if it's inland, ocean. Oh God, I got a book at home
Yeah.
that there's varying, you can be down to 75 feet, but yeah, general accepted builder's lot, builder's acre, 200 feet.
And I think why it's confusing me is other towns I've worked in, shoreline was an overlay. It wasn't its own
Yeah,
district.
not for us.
Yeah.
It's, I'm seeing more an overlay district, but I'm seeing more and more as a separate, complete,
See, I've never-
Because,
never seen that.
you know, if the main zoning requires 5 acres, now your shoreline, is it the 5 acres or is it the 40,000?
See, where I worked, it was an overlay, so.
Well, come on, I know you worked.
No, I said where I worked. I've always worked.
Yeah, this is,
Okay, thank you. That's
Yeah.
what I needed.
Next on the agenda is minutes, as we have the opportunity to take a look at the September 2023 meeting minutes. As Rod puts it, is everyone happy with them?
I wasn't here, so I abstained from voting.
I make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
Second,
Oh, okay.
discussion? All those in favor?
all right.
Aye.
Okay, down to you then.
Thank you.
Let's see, did you get any mail? Yep.
I didn't see any mail.
Anything that anyone wants to bring up in terms of old business?
I can mention one thing. It's not a big deal, but we had sent, the planning board had sent the bylaws to the town manager and the select board for review. And I guess, Joe was at the meeting, and it was discussed, there were some questions. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I think we asked if the cover letter went as written, it would have asked that, please give us any comments in writing. I don't think we've gotten any comments in writing. However, I guess there was a desire to see a changed, a version showing the changes. So I went back and took the stuff that I had at home there and sent that, made up a new one, which I sent to the planning board members also. And just showed the changes between the old bylaws and the revised bylaws. So, I mean, I didn't change anything unless I screwed it up, which is possible, but I didn't try to change anything that we voted on. So basically, but it would show them what the changes were, a little easier than looking at the two versions of it. So I think that, I sent that to the town manager and a copy to the planning board, but this was the day of the last select board meeting. So if it's going to be on the agenda, it'll be on the next one, I would assume. And I'm not necessarily planning to go, but I would hope that if they had any comments, it's nice to see some interest there. Again, as I sort of stupidly said, we've never seen a comment in the past X number of years. Well, somebody called my bluff. So now we have comments, which serves me right, I suppose. But in any case, if there's comments, we could obviously work with them and try to fix whatever the comments are. There was some question about the remote policy or something, and there were some other ones, minor ones, I think. I don't, unless you can remember anything else.
Made note of their concerns. And Don, thank you very much for sending that with the highlighting to the town manager and the select board. I did confirm that that was received on the Monday during, and I also offered the possibility of maybe a joint workshop between the two boards, just to walk through this and come up with mutually agreeable language.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we are with that.
Yeah, there wasn't any, I mean, the real major change in there was to try to put together that timeline of notifications and things, just to have some, and that's, I mean, I don't know, whatever. I mean, if there's comments, fine. But, you know, we are under the charter, but we also have the ordinance, which has some written stuff in there too. And I don't see those as necessarily in conflict with each other. The charter has the more as the overriding one, and the select board, or I guess the select board appoints the members of the planning board, but the ordinance has some additional requirements. So I don't see that as a conflict.
I agree. So,
Anyhow, but let's see what happens.
yeah, they've got it all in their court.
Mhm.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
maybe a joint meeting can
If they want to, yeah.
workshop can address that. On the agenda for next week, I'm sorry, 2 weeks from now,
2 weeks.
we start off with a public hearing on Mr. Gagnon's request for a state inspection
Oh, yeah.
facility on Stallion, right off of Parks Woods Road. Anything else pressing pending?
Do we have a site walk coming up? Thought I saw it. Did I?
Public
No,
hearing,
public hearings next.
Oh, public hearing on the
that would be
Is that 20th?
18th.
18th. Yeah, public hearing.
And that's, yeah, I believe.
Do we have anything else pending?
Yeah, I will not be here on the 18th. It's one of my other organization's meetings. And I was thinking, and I actually consulted with a few professionals. A couple of meetings back, I noticed the select board had gotten a report by one of the local brokers on all the public land that the municipality owns and projected futures. And one of the things that they did during that time frame was, looks like the Maine DOT was looking to gain a piece of property across from Town Line Restaurant, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was a very small parcel that the DOT only said, well, it's only worth about 6,000. So the selectman says, well, what can we do? You know, they're just going to take it. Through my sources, we actually could have done a nice amicable swap where we gave them that small parcel of land for the turning lane in exchange for them adding power, not only regular power, but three-phase power from Ed's Grove all the way to the Hollis border, which would have opened up the expansion possibility of our second commercial corridor within the municipality. I would suggest or recommend that if the select board is looking to make use of public town-owned property, that we should probably be consulted for what is in the best future for the town. How is this property be used in conjunction with, that, you know, because they say, oh, well, this property is, and one of the properties that comes to mind is, it's actually off the old Alfred Road, a large parcel. And it was suggested that it be used for municipal and town services. They abandoned the road. And in speaking with, personally, not as a member of the board, speaking with the Alfred Code Enforcement Officer, he's like, that's going to become a major corridor connected from Alfred to Kennebunk. It's going to happen. And there's all those parcels that have potential use, but now have been blocked off because it's an abandoned parcel.
Kelly, I would suggest that you address that information with members of, I think, an ad hoc committee that exists to deal with the town-owned property.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean-
pretty sure Peg McDonald. is
Yep,
on
she
there.
did a fantastic job getting that packet together.
Dave Elves is on there as well. And I think, if I remember correctly, at a previous select board meeting, Vicky Gable.
Victoria Gavel?
Hmm?
Victoria Gavel?
Yeah.
Okay,
Asked to be like the select board liaison to that group that my member serves. So any or all of those three, I think, would be a good.
Yeah. I mean, if we got property, let's
Yeah.
capitalize on its maximum potential. And
Good idea.
Good for the town.
my
Do you
two
have anything
cents.
else?
Just a quick, what do we have pending now? We have Harper coming back. Who else now?
Mary meeting.
We haven't finished up with Mary Morning yet.
We gotta get MX 207 back in here to decide what they want to do.
Right, are there any, and then how about on NODs now? We're catching up on those, I know.
I think we're done.
I
I
think
think
we
Easterman was the last one that was outstanding.
And Gagnon too.
And Gagnon
That's
will,
what-
Yeah.
when, after everything's said and done, it'll be that one. I don't think there were any others.
Okay, so yeah, so we're in pretty good shape then.
So just quick on the 207. So do we have a list of goals that we're looking at for that project before we have them come back in?
We had sent over a list of information, we need this information, that information sometime back.
I think he's met most of them.
I believe so. But,
Good question, though.
And he did, I handed you stuff a few weeks ago
Right.
that he had brought in,
Yeah.
updating some of
Yep.
those.
And one of the things I noticed and I brought to the attention is that there are two industries, two businesses operating in that. Three.
Because I sent you another one.
That one, I believe, is a private webpage for a competitor.
Okay.
That was,
It's under the same property.
oh yeah, well, that's just Major Racing. But the go-kart is a separate entity.
Hmm.
And it's like, it may be an LLC part of the greater MX 207 Incorporation, but I think we specifically asked how many things you got going on and, oh, this is the business. So I can't remember the other one's name off the top of my head.
Bartlett's Pond Racing or something.
Yeah, Bartlett's Bridge Racing or go-kart.
MX 207 is the company,
Parent company.
is like SMX 207 or something like that.
Yeah, just something to think about because it's,
Well, I just think knowing what we want to accomplish on a list helps us define what's being done. Or what hasn't been done or what
Yeah.
needs to be done.
We assign ourselves a homework assignment to go over what has been presented from 207 so far. So we can discuss more precisely what additional information we may need. I believe their season has concluded by now.
not the go-karting.
No.
Nope. They got races going up to late October.
Well, how long did we extend that
Through October.
through October? So, but you got a good point. I mean, if he wants, if he's going to be able to start next year, we ought to have that resolved by
Well,
then.
we have the parking, we
Yeah.
have the camping,
The camping.
Right,
we have the concessions,
Right.
Mhm.
we have the fire water supply hookup. I'm just saying, if we make that
Yeah.
list, then we can go down and say, okay,
done this.
this is
and that.
gonna meet this is gonna meet this, but then we don't miss anything.
I do believe that we did put together a list that was sent over to them in terms of what we were looking for. I think they were, was that addressed on that?
I don't know.
So.
But we have to write, won't we have to go through and do an NOD on them? I think so, right? So that's gonna come up pretty fast. I mean, if he wants to start again, I don't know when he starts again, but if he starts in April or something, you know, sounds like 6 months is a long time. 6 months is not a long time. When you have to put stuff together and get it, you know,
A
approved
good
and all.
start would be to go down through the standards. Have you done that just to see?
Have we got anything from the state on what they wanted to have done there?
The state has gone silent on that. They were very active in the beginning.
Yeah.
They've gone very silent. They worked more with Matt, and I think Matt is satisfied with what they've done out there.
Right.
And I think the state, as long as they're not doing food, that's
Yeah.
what the
Right.
state's
Right.
about.
Except on the Bartlett Bridge, they're advertising food concessions.
Shall we invite the gentleman for the next meeting? And in the
I would-
interim, go over what has been provided so far to MX 207.
I would think, and this is just me, all right, I want to see that list and what we know has been accomplished so that we make sure we have all the in-feeding from everybody we've asked, so we know where we stand before we ask, because we don't want to ask a question that we don't know the answer to.
So I don't think it'd be too much difficulty for me to locate that on my laptop. I'll send it out to everybody as a checklist.
Good point.
Yeah, FYI, last go-kart race is October 27th.
Do we have a copy of
Pushing it to
the
the
camping
end.
permit from the state?
I'm sorry?
Do we have a copy of the camping permit from the state?
The state says that they do it per event. So
Okay.
they don't have like a season long. So we did get a copy of one that they sent in for the state for one of the events. I haven't seen it. So I guess there's a difference between camping and event camping.
Event camping is not the same as a campground. Event camping, they're self-contained. They're not provided water and sewer,
Yeah.
so
Right.
they just bring their own housing.
And they're supposed to, I believe, reapply for every event. So it's not blanket,
Right.
from what I understand.
Well, it'll be simple to put in the decision that X number of days before an event, we need to see the permit from the state.
Or at least it would be available to you to inspect.
Right.
And we should know how many events, in a notice of decision, how many events a year.
Maximum, something like
Matt, right,
Yeah, maximum. I don't,
A maximum.
it might vary year to year.
right.
They have specific events, because they are New England sanctioned. And so based on that, the thing is, they also have practice weekends.
Right.
And they,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that aren't events, but it's still activity.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, the other hand, well, anyway, we're sort of talking about, there's lots of details we need, but, you know, I don't know whether we care I mean, how many events, well, I guess we do care because of
Traffic.
well, also the impact on the fire rescue services, potential impact.
Yeah.
So that's the point.
And again, just to confirm about the food and the snack shop. Snack shop, we do our best to keep the snack shop up and running for every event. There are times when the little dirt track needs all hands on deck, not allowing us time for us to use the shop for fresh food and always post information ahead of time. That is 2023 postings. So that's another thing we need, that they're going to need to have.
And that's in reference to the go-kart.
This is Bartlett's Bridge Raceway, which is the go-karts. And they have some big sponsors. There's Amsoil, 207 brand, local construction company, Title Surfaces, mainly batteries, Dow. So go-kart racing is a big thing. Matter of fact, a good friend of mine actually just 2 weeks ago got in a serious accident, messed up his spine, go-kart racing. There's a lot of money. there's as much money put into those go-karts as there is in Oxford Plains, basically. So,
We
Wow.
also asked them to define what an event is. It's like these practice weekends. They advertise camping. Does that require a separate permit for every weekend
More you scratch.
versus just the motocross races?
He's commented that he defines those as
Yes.
overnight parking.
keep my mouth shut.
Okay.
Vehicles with propane tanks on them. Right, It's-
Like Walmart parking.
yeah.
They've cut down on that.
Anything else that we have on for tonight?
Move to
All
adjourn.
right. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Good job, Joe.
I forgot the roll call.
I'm gonna wait a way off there.
Yeah, so I think
Small potatoes.